Masters.
Good day to you, partner. I'm Guy, and I can already tell that I'll be your best friend in this forsaken cave.
Hey guys, Wheat Solo here, aka the Skeleton King. So, as some people have complained about, there was this talk that fire golems were nerfed because of their ability to do Dclone, and I do think that was a very big reason why they should have been nerfed. My only objective is always to ensure that summons are as powerful as possible and Necromancer as powerful as possible, while understanding that nerfs are a real thing and they can always happen. I don't think the direction Senpai went with nerfs for fire golems was ever a good direction. He increased synergies, decreased the power of Trangs, and didn't nerf the single target damage enough. Now, is the only solution to revert those changes? No, but the reason why reducing our need to run Trangs is a big deal is because no one wants to run Trangs, okay? Only lazy people want to run Trangs. And you could argue that every single class set is good if you're lazy. And in fact, some class sets you could actually say are actually pretty good for farming MF or gold. Now, is it ever optimal? No. But like IK set, you can get a lot of gold find on it, or magic find, and Mavs is actually pretty good for ice early on. But like, you know, Trangs is pretty good budget early on these days too. I mean, T1 and T2 are so nerfed. Probably every single full set is pretty good early on. But this video is going to show you that you can do Dclone pretty damn budget with fire golems still. Now, what are the differences? We're not going to be running bone armor. That's a pretty big deal. He's actually going to die several times in this fight, or sorry, almost die several times in this fight. And I actually think the biggest problem in this fight for him is meteors, which is funny because I'm normally a guy who thinks meteors aren't a big deal. And that's probably because I play a Necromancer and have bone armor. Now, I don't think bone armor is that good, but for meteors, it's really nice, dude. It gives you another 500 health. Yeah, you don't get your resistances on it, but just getting that chunk taken off and then you reduce the damage. Trust me, a lot of classes would love to have a bone armor to cast every time they get hit by a meteor. So the good thing is you don't have to cast bone armor, so he actually wastes his time casting LR, which is... I don't know if he was memeing doing that or if he just was going to be bored, and so he decided to run LR. Because, like, the build would just be better if you just put 1 point in the bone armor. Instead of casting LR, he just casted bone armor a bit. So let's talk a bit about the fight. Again, he almost dies right there. One of the biggest problems about fire golems and Dclone has been the problem where they can tank the adds and deal damage to them. But that's not even the biggest... Well, maybe that is the biggest problem. There's one more issue. He's able to circle around and easily clump up even the ranged and the melee. And in that case, he doesn't have to worry about proccing Dclone. Now, I don't know why Dclone was given Salvation during ad phases, because it makes this fight much easier for fire golems, and honestly maybe other necros too, because the more you can start to group the enemies around Dclone, the easier time you're going to have casting a Desecrate on them. I'm not sure about that strategy for Poison as much, because a lot of times you just run around the outside, but just watching this fight makes me think that giving him Salvation during ad phases, maybe there was a problem with him not having it, but if there isn't, he should put it back. Because I know in Season 3, when he introduced ads, a lot of classes had to be very careful about not proccing Dclone while ads were up. Because basically, the amount of chaos going on at that point where you're trying to hide from cold novas and ads are trying to kill you, basically you're dead at that point. So what about the gear? Well, We talked about the fire golems, why they're good in this fight, this build not being optimal, full meme synergy. The gear is pretty budget. Now it's a Djinn Slayer, that's free. Flickering Flame, 1 Vex. We got a Maris. Now those are pretty good, granted, I'll agree. Arachnid Mesh, 20 FCR. I think it's just a random piece of gear. I don't think he really needed 20 FCR. He's got 2 nature pieces, random cores. He has a Bone Flame, 1 socket. Ormus Robe, only 1 thing socketed in it, which is a joke. The Djinn Slayer has 2 Hell Runes in it. Like, basically, he's trying to show how cheaply you could do this. The benefit to Djinn Slayer and Flickering Flame is you get some fire skills, you get some fire mastery that double dips on the fire golems, because it buffs them when you cast them, and it buffs them while they're dealing damage. Can I confirm this is 100% true? No, but I can confirm one thing that I've already said wrong this season. Somehow I got it confused. Fire golems gain full mastery from your character. It's not half. I don't know how this got backwards between NecroChat. Maybe there was a mistranslation, miscommunication, who knows. But Rinrid said they gain 100% of your mastery. He finally updated the dummies, so I'm going to get to check that soon. So again, as you can see, even with the mages and the archers and the warriors, he's basically always able to keep the ads grouped over Dclone. It's kind of crazy that he's able to group the ads so effectively over Dclone, which really makes me think other classes should look into this when they can. Because I think doing the Desecrate run around in circles and cast Desecrate on the edges is not optimal. Although, again, it's kind of different because the Fire Golems tank a little bit, so it's hard to say, one class can do it and another build like Poison Nova can't. So again, we've got the 2 nature pieces, so we get an Oath Sage. Of course, he's got a CTA on his swap, so he gets some life, but 2,000 is not a lot. Capping your res isn't that hard. None of the gear is something that would be hard for you to obtain early on or to obtain right now. Now, 2 caveats in case Senpai ever watches this. Topwood is the best necromancer in the game, besides the Skeleton King. I mean, I'm in my own class, right? So, but the best, mortal necromancer in the game. And this is done offline. Now, online, like these times where he almost dies over and over again, maybe if he was doing this online, he might have actually died one of those times. That's just kind of how doing it online works. But again, he's a very experienced player, and the more you get used to the fight, the more you're used to not dying from things kind of going wrong with latency or desync of any sort. So Dclone is about to die. The fight is over at this point. Where do we go from here? We basically need, I think, nerfing synergies is important. I think centering Fire Golems more on synergies was the wrong direction. I think removing Fire Mastery from trains was the wrong direction. I think one of the biggest parts is honestly that we can kill the ads and not worry about proccing Dclone, because I just do not think this would work the same if we had to worry about Cold Nova and ads were still alive. But again, maybe there's some other thing I'm not putting into consideration. Honestly, summon skillers are probably a bit better, but we just ran some 4% LCs, just kind of to show you could do what you want. Well, guys, necromancers can do budget Dclone with summons. GG.
Come and play with us. Come and play with us, Daddy.